Welcome to Manifest Money Mondays Live. This is your weekly prosperity reset. It's your space to breathe, release, and realign your money energy before your week unfolds. If this is your first time, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. It's so wonderful to have you. Please type in the chat where you are joining from so we can bear witness. I'm Lorna, and at 59 years young, after some painful financial breakdowns, my family and I moved all the way to Taiwan with just a little faith and a few suitcases. Now, if my Jamaican family knew the whole story, they would have told me, Lana, that are the wrong move to make. But it was exactly the right move to help us to rebuild, reactivate, and realign and find our financial footing. And that's what we did. And today, I help women 40 plus to start over and to rebuild and find their footing. And I want to say to you, if I can do this in a place where I can't even read the street signs, imagine what's possible for you, right? So it's totally within reach for you to start over and to build again. Now, I want to let you know that there is a special money message waiting for you today. It's a message of preparation, provision, and unexpected blessings. But before we get into it, I love to just take a few moments to breathe and to release whatever it is that we need to release so that we can make space for the blessing. So let's just take a couple of deep breaths together. And as you breathe in, make space for clarity, for insights, for ahas. And as you breathe out any stress, any worry, any doubt. Breathe in again. And just breathe in opportunity, possibility, blessings. And as you let go of any past money failure, any money setbacks, any money disappointments. One more time, breathe in. And you want to breathe in new money, new opportunities, new blessings. And as you breathe out, let go of all past failures with money, past disappointments, past setbacks. Today is a new day, and it's an opportunity for you to really receive what it is that you have in mind to receive, and it's waiting if you will allow. So just take that in for a moment. And when you're ready, just open your eyes and let's continue. So I'm going to be reading from my notes, and today's prosperity reading comes with a reminder. It's that your good, your money, your breakthrough is already prepared. All you need to do is to be open to receive it. I'm just going to check and see, and we've got wonderful watching from the Phils. Greetings to the Philippines. Good evening to you. Good evening, Miss. Good evening, Miss Casey. Happy to be here. Wonderful to have you. Another Money Monday motivation. Awesome. Let's go. That's right. Thank you, Miss Queenie. This session is so timely. I needed this message. Wonderful. Breathing in abundance. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much. So today's message has a special word, and it is that your good, your money, your breakthrough is already prepared, that all you need to do is to be open to receive it. And this is a message from my all-time favorite spiritual teacher, Florence Scovel Shinn, who I shared in five books you must read in 2025. That this woman who was writing over 100 years ago still touches lives today. She certainly impacted my life in a great way. So if you haven't watched that video yet, please check it out. And she teaches that you can manifest your desires through the power of your word and your thoughts. And the language that was used 100 years ago is very different, because when they talk about people, they say man. And so she also quotes scriptures, which is Old English, but each message is so undeniably powerful that you will receive a blessing when you hear it, and it will help strengthen your faith so that you can really receive what it is, the money or the money message or the breakthrough or the miracle with your name on it. And so today I'm going to be reading from the Law of Prosperity, which comes from the Game of Life and how to play it. And it starts off saying, man comes into the world financed by God. Hear that? Man comes into the world financed by God. The Creator has provided man with everything that he needs, but man must be awake to receive the supply prepared for him. And she goes on to say, there is a place that you are to fill that no one else can fill. There is something that you are to do which no one else can do. Isn't that amazing? Prosperity, she says, is never withheld from man. It is simply awaiting his recognition. I'm going to share that again so that you can capture it. She goes on, she says, she starts off saying, man comes into the world financed by God, that the Creator has provided man with everything that he needs, but man must be awake and aware to receive the supply prepared for him. Then she goes on to say, there is a place that you are to fill and no one else can fill it. And that there is something you are to do which no one else can do. And I don't know if that reaches you. He's saying God is our source. Yes. Yes. And yes, God is our source. What I'm getting from what she's saying here, where there is a place that you are to fill and no one else can fill it, and something you are to do which no one else can do. I don't know if that reaches you, but I'll tell you how it reaches me. And that's why I don't compete with people. I don't care who they are. I recognize that my own gifts are good enough. There are things that I have been put here on the planet to do that is for me to do. And she's saying there is a place for me to fill that no one else can fill. There's a place for you to fill that no one else can fill. There's a place for you to fill that no one else can fill. There is something that you're here to do which no one else can do. And so if you are operating from that headspace and that mindset, you don't have to worry and stress that people are going to take your job and take your possession or take your love or take your, I don't know if you get where I'm coming from with this. I hope you're getting where I'm coming from, right? It's that idea of, I'm going to lose. I'm going to lose because somebody else is going to get my share of love, my share of relationship, my share of money, my share of jobs, my share of business, my share of opportunity. Does that make sense? Yes, you got it. Yes, absolutely. So you got it. This makes me trust, this is reminding us to trust our worth, and it's making me trust my own journey. Absolutely. That is very powerful. And you're speaking straight. Yes, absolutely. There's a place for you to fill that nobody else can fill. There's a work for you to do that nobody else can do. And she's saying that when you recognize that, then your prosperity cannot be withheld from you, because you are not grasping, you're not in desperation, you're not, trying to force yourself into situations and places and spaces that you're not aligned for, because the place that you are to fill, nobody else can fill it. So if you don't find your place, you might miss your abundance and your prosperity. So let's continue. I love where this is going. She says, man cannot receive what he cannot see himself receiving. He must become a mental receiver before he can become a material receiver. That's powerful. I'll read that again. Man cannot receive what he cannot see himself receiving. He must become a mental receiver before he can become a material receiver. Man's supply comes from unexpected channels, and he must be open and receptive to new ideas. Man's supply comes from unexpected channels, and he must be open and receptive to new ideas. I want you to work with me in the chat. Work with me. When she says man's supply comes from unexpected channels, and he must be open and receptive to new ideas, what are you getting? You tell me. Because see, the way I'm reading this and understanding it, a lot of times your blessings, your prosperity, your breakthroughs are not going to come from the usual places. It doesn't have to. If you collect a paycheck, don't expect that the blessing is going to come from your paycheck. She says man's supply comes from unexpected channels, and he must be open and receptive to new ideas. So sometimes you're being blessed in some places and spaces that you couldn't imagine if you are open and receptive to new ideas. So I want you to take that in. She says, I have spoken the word for men to receive large sums of money, and it has come to them in a miraculous way through channels they did not expect. I need to visualize better. Hey, there's always a first time, and I love that you are open to the idea of visualizing more. Yeah, so she says, I've spoken the word for many to receive large sums of money, and it has come to them in a miraculous way through channels they did not expect. So that's the idea. It's through unexpected channels. She goes on to say, a woman came to me in great financial trouble. She had lost everything and was without support. I told her God was her supply and that she must rely upon this fact. I spoke the word that the divine spirit would open the way for immediate supply. A few days later, she received a large sum of money from a source she had entirely forgotten about, something that was owed to her for years. So it was simply awaiting her recognition. So she goes on to say, when man aligns himself with divine law, the supply that belongs to him comes quickly and under grace. So you hear, I don't know if you catch that, but I'm going to read that part again. Let me just read this. So, because we're not going to be here long, but some of these stories are so powerful, they require a little bit more, right? So she says, a woman came to me in great financial trouble, had lost everything, and was without support. I told her God was her supply and that she must rely upon this fact. I spoke the word that the divine spirit would open the way for immediate supply. A few days later, she received a large sum of money from a source she had entirely forgotten about, something that was owed to her for years. It was simply awaiting her recognition. And she goes on to say, when man aligns himself with divine law, the supply that belongs to him comes quickly and under grace. Divine provision never fails. Absolutely agree. Absolutely. And then she shares another story. She says, another woman was filled with resentment and criticism toward all who prospered. She condemned others, not realizing that she was blocking her own blessing. What man condemns in another, he attracts to himself. I told her to bless the prosperity of everyone she knew, and soon her own channels of supply opened in a most magical way. She said, one cannot be envious of others and expect to have what they possess. When man praises and blesses the good in others, he opens the way for his own prosperity. I think that one is really key. She says, one cannot be envious of others and expect to have what they possess. When man praises and blesses the good in others, he opens the way for his own prosperity. She says, man must make the first move. When he shows active faith by preparing for what he has asked for, he demonstrates recognition. For example, a woman longed for a home of her own. She spoke the word daily, but made no practical move. One day she said, I will act as though I had already received. She packed up her possessions as if she were leaving the small apartment she lived in. A short time later, she received word that a relative had left her a beautiful home. Her recognition brought the manifestation. So I think with that particular example, she was saying, you need to make some kind of a practical move. Even if you're speaking the word daily, you need to act on your faith as though you already received what you're asking for. And it was only as this woman acted on her faith as though she had already received the apartment and packed up her possessions as though she were leaving the small apartment that she lived in, that she got the word that a relative had left her a beautiful home. Her recognition, right, and her demonstration and her packing up, her practical move brought the manifestation. There is an old saying that man proposes, God disposes. Oh, divine provision never fails. Okay, I can relate so much to this. Whenever I feel tight financially, I remind myself the same thing. God always provides. That's a powerful, powerful statement to remind yourself of. And it absolutely works. And I think the other piece to this one, if you're in a tight financial situation, you can make a practical move as though you have already received to activate the blessing, to allow it to come forth, right? So whether it's an apartment or it's some money or whatever, right? You do something, you take some kind of a practical step to activate it and to bring it through. Like the point of me and my family moving, we were in a bind, and it was a result of us taking a step of faith, right? Packing up and leaving, we activated the blessing so that whatever the money could be activated to come through to us. So she goes on to say, there's an old saying, man proposes, God disposes. In other words, man proposes through desire, but it is God who provides. Man must stop trying to plan his own supply. He must act only through intuition, and the supply will come in unexpected ways. I think what she's speaking to here when she says man must stop trying to plan his own supply, the idea of God is the source, right? God is the provider. God has it for you. A lot of us, we are so caught up with how it's going to happen. How is it going to take shape? How are we going to receive it? How? And then we block the blessing. So I think that's what you mean by stop trying to plan your own supply. Don't block your blessing by trying to play God or thinking that you have to help God, right? God is going to do what God is going to do, right? Can you relate? Does that make sense? She says, I once knew a man who needed a large sum of money. He had exhausted every avenue until he felt all hope was lost. Then, suddenly, through an unexpected channel, the supply came. And she says, God is the source and every man is a channel. The supply is always ready, but man must be receptive. When man becomes receptive, the supply rushes toward him. And here's another piece that she talks about. She says, gratitude is the law of increase. Complaining is the law of decrease. Gratitude is the law of increase. Complaining is the law of decrease. Awesome. Feeling blessed just listening to this live. It's wonderful, isn't it? I read her things and listen to them all the time, but even just reading it, I'm getting a lift. I'm getting just this sense of anything is possible. She says gratitude is the law of increase. I'm so incredibly grateful. And I find that whenever I practice gratitude regularly, which I do most of the time, but if I get off track, I observe it, that my blessings can be a little dried up. But when I practice gratitude daily, on a daily basis, as in writing a few lines of gratitude, what I'm grateful for, first thing in the morning or last thing at night, it's like my supply just reactivates it and makes so much come forth. It's just so incredible. I'll share a little bit more in terms of that. But she says, gratitude is the law of increase and complaining is the law of decrease. Continual appreciation brings results. Here she says, a man who was in need of money came to me in deep despair. Everything in his life seemed hopeless. I told him to give thanks repeatedly that he had received. I said, you must show active faith. Give thanks for your supply. She said, you must show active faith. Give thanks for your supply as though it were already yours. He began to thank God continuously for money, even though there was no appearance of it. And within a short time, large checks began coming to him from unexpected sources. He began to thank God continuously for money, even though there was no appearance of it. And within a short time, large checks began coming to him from unexpected sources. She says, God's ways are ingenious. God's methods are sure. Supply comes when man stops outlining and simply recognizes his prosperity as inevitable. God's ways are ingenious. God's methods are sure. Supply comes when man stops outlining and simply recognizes his prosperity as inevitable. Wow, 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 wow. I have to stop there and see what's happening. Yes, 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 yes. Gratitude. Yes, gratitude changes everything. Grateful hearts attract more good. Absolutely. Just to share relates so much. When I focus on what I'm grateful for, I notice more abundance coming my way the following day. And then just like that, gratitude is like a magnet for good things. So you can relate. You can relate to what I'm saying. Absolutely. I have found that to be true for me as well. And so I'm incredibly grateful. We're coming down. But let me just finish with this little portion because it's so good. It's so good. It's so good. She says, man must cultivate the ability to see abundance even where lack seems to appear. Man must cultivate the ability to see abundance even where lack seems to appear. He must hold steadily to the vision of prosperity regardless of appearances. But man must cultivate the ability to see abundance even where lack seems to appear. He must hold steadily to the vision of prosperity regardless of appearances. And let me see one more statement. She says, when man becomes a mental receiver, he becomes a material receiver. He prepares for that which he has asked for. He follows intuition, and in the right time and in the right way, his supply comes to him easily, effortlessly, and under grace. Prosperity is already prepared for every man. His only task is to recognize it. Prosperity is already prepared for some man, some men. No, she says prosperity is already prepared for every man. His only task is to recognize it. So that's the final statement right there. Prosperity is yours. Prosperity is mine. Prosperity is for the person in the Netherlands and in the Middle East and in Asia and in Africa and in the Caribbean and in the furthest corners of the globe, in a third world country, in a first world country, in a developing nation. Prosperity is for every man. His only task is to recognize it. I come from a place where many times people think that prosperity is for the rich person, and that because we are of this hue or this color or we are whatever, it's not for us. And because I have tuned into prosperity teachings like hers, I recognize prosperity is, like she said, for every person. It's for every person. Our only task is to recognize it. So let me just pause there because that just got me fired up. Let me see what you're saying. Here's to the inevitable prosperity. Absolutely love it. Prosperity is always around us if we're willing to see it. You're speaking truth. It sometimes can be disguised. Sometimes our prosperity is disguised in disappointment. Sometimes right before you're to have this big break, disappointment. And sometimes disappointment after disappointment. Disappointment. It's disguised, and you have to break through by giving thanks, showing faith, right? As she said, making some kind of a practical move that you actually really believe what you're saying you believe, or, bringing it to bring it into being. And so if prosperity is for every one of us, then it means it doesn't matter what continent you're born on. You are still bound for prosperity. And it means that there is a money breakthrough and a money message for you, right? Because the material, the money, is part of your prosperity. So you're not at a disadvantage because you come from this place, or you look like this, or you're of a different color skin, or whatever. So I think, one of the biggest reassurances is that it is for all of us. She started off saying there is a place for you to fill that nobody else can fill. There is something for you to do that nobody else can do, right? That means you don't have to compete with anybody. Yours is yours, and it cannot be taken. Nobody can get yours. That's yours. And you can get excited because it means Your breakthrough is yours and yours alone. And if you can demonstrate faith and hold gratitude and hold strong and trust and know that it's yours. And she said, your only task is to recognize it. And by recognize it means that you're using your spiritual eyes. Because sometimes if you're just looking with your physical eyes, you don't see it, right? So that brings us to the end of our prosperity reading for tonight. Now it's time to align my thoughts with prosperity to fully receive it. Absolutely. Absolutely. If that is what you know you need to do, then you got to do it. I am super grateful. I'm super grateful for you being here and for giving me the opportunity to read from Florence Scovel Shinn's The Law of Prosperity, to bring this money message to you today, because this is yours and it can meet you in your openness and your willingness to receive. So I trust that you got something. And if you were to have received something, tell me what's your biggest takeaway from? What's your biggest takeaway as you pause and you listen to the reading and you heard all kinds of stuff, right? All kinds of stuff she was sharing with us. What would you say is your biggest take? Your biggest breakthrough? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for today's live. Manifest Money Monday is always such a blessing to start my week. Thank you for guiding us to start the week with faith and abundance. It is my absolute pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's one of the things that I look forward to now. I've gotten into the habit of doing it a few times now, and I look forward to it because it builds my faith as well. I had a couple of incredible breakthroughs this past week, and I can share one of my breakthroughs. How can I explain it? I was trying to find a platform that I could post or schedule for one of my communities, and it was going to cost me about $50 a month. They gave me 2 weeks. They're offering me 2 weeks free. So I knew that this was going to be important for me to be able to manage the community. So I was preparing to come up with it. $50 a month, $600 for the year. And last week, after I signed up, right, get 2 weeks free and started to schedule the posts, somebody from that organization reached out to me and offered me 12 months free. That's $600, just like that. Completely unexpected, out of the blue. And it's incredible to me because it's a platform, or I should say it's a tool that is going to come in very, very handy for me. Very, very handy. And I knew I was going to come out of pocket $50 a month, $600 for the year to use that. And just like I'm sharing these with you every week, I'm getting blessings from it. So that is one of the things that occurred to me, that I want to start sharing some of the blessings that are coming, because that just came over the last couple of days. And I am incredibly grateful for it. So don't forget to be grateful. Biggest takeaway: God's timing and methods are always perfect. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm giving thanks, and I thank you for being here. And thank you for allowing me to share this reading. I'm trusting that this message will guide you with calm, clarity, and courage as you walk into a new week. And if this reading spoke to you, share it, right? Share it. And don't forget that your prosperity is already prepared. Your only job is to stay open to receive and to act in faith, right? As though you've already received, and give thanks as though it's already come. And just start moving, doing some practical move to show God that you are receiving it. All right. So thank you again for joining me. It's been such a pleasure to be here with you. And I look forward to joining you next week. And this week, just expect miracles. Expect your money miracle. Thank you again and have a fantastic, miraculous breakthrough week. Love and blessings. Bye bye for now.